Hello and welcome. I'm Iceman, and today we have a little show we call Rip and Tear. And next to me I have the most famous, fabulous guy and whatever shit. Are we ready to roll this show?
Yeah, I think we are, man.
Nobody, all right. I'm excited. I hope you're all excited. And sorry about the flipper thing. That's something they do over there. Presentation text. Yeah, look at that. Talk summary. Oh, God heavens, this is really awful. I can't see. Oh, man. This is a two-part. Oh, God, can I get this one? Man, you can have this one. I like this one better. All right, much better. So what we have today is a two-pronged talk. The first one we call Rip, and the other one we call Tear. And it's not Tear, which is my joke with Adam Laurie. But since he's not here, it's okay. But this is for the Ricks. I'm Iceman. Yeah. Hoo yeah. Red team. We're going to talk about diversification algorithms. Remember today that we are not really bashing on any kind of company, anything like that. This is our findings that is going on in the community for years. So take it for what it is. And the Tear of Attack is something new, something blue. And let's go with that. Together with me on stage is the most fabulous, fantastic man in the world. This is ZeroXFF, Kevin Barker from Australia. Give it up for him. He is the administrator of the Proxmark3 originally and has helped developing the RDV4, Proxmark and all of that shit. And we hacked some stuff.
Thank you. And beside me, everybody knows who he is, Mr. Iceman himself. Met this gentleman quite a few years ago, saw somebody that was interested in NFC, RFID, jumped onto admin role straight away, and ever since then, he's been building the community ever since. And thanks to the contributions of everybody around...
Speaking in the microphone.
Speaking to the microphone. Thanks to everybody's contributions to make what the Proxmark is today. So, yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Iceman.
Stop that. We're not doing it yet. All right. Rest in peace. Why do we say that? That's a good question. You know all about this little company. We're going to focus today and talk about PicoPass, the card technology that is based for these companies. Inside Secure made the PicoPass product, and HID is famous here in this country for the security tokens that they use upon them. And it's, yeah, it's a mess. What's happening with iClass in the future and then in the history is based on some serious academic research. And this previous talk or previous work has been done by people like Rule, Andrew Garcia, Flavio, Milovic, and all those people. And they extracted a lot of data and knowledge and what you red team as pen testers or other guys are doing here in this show today. So this is what it's based upon. Now, before we get going, I don't know, how many of you have a Proxmark and have done any kind of RFID hacking? Up with your hand. All right. That's pretty decent, bro. How many have hacked and cloned a card? A little bit better. How many roads must man walk down before karaoke? Yeah. That's for you. Anyway, it's a little bit confusing terminology, so I want to say a little briefly saying that we have something called iClass Legacy, iClass SC, and CEOS. That's three different security levels that HID presents. With that comes another word that protection that we're using. It's called standard mode, high or elite mode, or SE Secure Edition. Confusing, but in the end, all it's based upon the PicoPass. Look at that little face. I know that, Babak. SIO enabled. Oh, well. Give it up for RJ man number one himself. He made the little box over there. That's Babak Yavari. Amazing person. Here we go. Anyway, back to standard security. what we have here is the first crypto that came up, the encrypt, was then decoded and all that stuff was figured out, the key diversification, and it added support for it in the Proxmark. The old academic papers that you saw has been doing thoroughly going through and presented a lot of attacks into it. The standard security is properly known, properly addressed in the Proxmark clients and other places. With the high security and elite mode, it became a little bit more difficult in the sense that they added the complexity in diversifying the keys that was generated. Do everybody here know what a key is used for in an RFID tag system? If you don't know, raise a hand. I will take it a little bit shortly. Okay, a couple of them. So you can see an RFID tag as a memory stick, a USB memory stick. And you want to have some access control to it by saying you are allowed to write to it or you're not allowed to write to it. And by that, they add some layers of crypto. With that crypto, they have keys, cryptographic keys. And how to generate those keys is made in different ways for different systems. That's the shortest way I can say it. All right? Simple. We're going to get more technical. We are, actually. Now, 5-class SE, SIO enabled. HID went down a different road. They made readers, and that was a little bit better because their own crypto academic research showed that the old stuff was totally broken. So they came up with a little bit improved version of it. So this uses a CMAC IS diversification system. It's good, better at least. Let's see what happens. And yeah, next generation. This is still old stuff. With that said, current status, how we support all of this stuff is actually made implementing the Proxmark quite well, I would say, by now. Pretty solid. And we had implemented in the libNFC. Adam Laurie did that. And we had the Proxmark3 has it. That what Herrmann added all the commands for it. And in the Flipper Zero, I don't know if Betts is in the audience here today. Where's Betts? Eric Betts, man with a hat. Give it up your hand. So he's the one who added I-class stuff to the Flipper Zero. Give it up to him. Anyway, Herrmann implemented all this crypto in the Proxmark, which everyone else is using, and he got a cease and desist letter as a thank you. So that was pretty good. So, when we talk about crypto, and we talk about here in this village about how we recover keys, do you know what that means? No! Or yes? You know? No, yes? Okay. It means in one way that we want to somehow extract the cryptographic key that is used to read out the memory and manipulate the memory. And if we do well, we do well. For this kind of stuff, for the global system that was I-class standard or I-class legacy that we mentioned before, the global master key was recovered from firmware hacks. So you don't have to think so very much about it. That key is in the repo. It's very easy to clone it. If you do the CTF challenge over there, it's kind of simple. Then we have another user. It's called Carl55, amazing guy. He came up with another idea how to recover the key from systems. It's called the elite system that I mentioned briefly. That is called the low-class attack. Basically, you use simulation to extract 9 CSN, and that it generates the key material that you can use in running a command called low-class. So if you heard these words, it's going to sound familiar. But you will recover the elite key in about 3 seconds. Common knowledge. All basic. So what is left when you look at the I-class legacy world? What is left is the generation of elite master keys. The elite master keys is... okay, let's begin from the beginning. The elite system is based that HID makes its own custom triple-dash keys one by one. And then that is kept secret. So we can extract all the keys from the firmware. We have a low-class to extract the keys from the reader. It's not an issue. So what's left for the community to understand, because this is what it is, it's a community effort, to understand how are these things done. And this is the focus of what we're doing today. how is the generated, or how is the elite keys, master keys generated? And thus begins a tale of two. So for the community side of it, we have known or suspected that this elite and high security triple desk keys was generated by some kind of algo. Now, today's finding we're going to talk about is based upon two researchers' efforts over the years. Which leads me to call 55. I'm going fast, am I not? Okay. So call, among others, has been hacking iClass for a long time. So the key how it does it is that it gets readers from eBay. And everybody got particularly curious after we figured out the standard iClass key out, the global master key. God, I hate to repeat myself all the time. Jesus, we don't do it fine. He took time to figure things. I had a friend in Australia, down under. And they have a system there, we call the Gold or whatever, and they have a lot of elite systems down there. So his friend and them checked out eBay and bought a whole bunch of them, did the low class, and he also extracted from the firmware the keys, how to look like. Now for him, when he compiled that list of keys that he figured out, was some kind of pattern emerged. Now with that said, it comes over to Kevin.
So, unbeknownst to me, I did my own set of research. Carl had already well and truly travelled quite a bit of ground before I started acquiring R10 readers for myself. Once I'd done so, I'd taken them for a bath in some acetone and unencapsulated ICs and had a look at what was underneath the hood. One of the first things that I found was the PIC18F. Now, if any of you are familiar with hardware hacking, you would also perhaps be familiar with microchips over voltage vulnerabilities. So upon discovering this within the epoxy resin and seeing that PIC18F, I decided to investigate further. Now, usually information on these microchips are stored at the end because you've got bootloaders and everything else. That's all the fun stuff's at the start, but all the information is usually at the end. So I thought I'd take a bit of a gamble, and I did my HV attack on the second half of the reader and extracted all the keys. Great. That was interesting. How did the keys get generated? How did the keys get used? I wasn't really sure. So I didn't really know where to go from this point in time, but I knew that there was a simple PRNG that was being used based on the information that I'd obtained through the firmware. And I had seen a PRNG in the assembly code that I had decompiled. So I needed to contact somebody else and start sharing knowledge and start understanding what's going on, because at that point in time, after I'd done that much research, I'd found that there were other people around the globe, very intelligent people, such as Carl55, that I could then collaborate with. So very happy with the results that we got there. So once I got that far, it was off to my mate Chris. So, yeah.
This is yours, you know that. This is yours.
Oh, it is my one. Yeah, back to me. Okay, so after that, knowing that I had this PRNG, bounced that off Chris. Chris introduced me to Carl. Carl and I had a bit of a yak. We had verified that we both had extracted the same keys from that same PIC18F micro. And we knew that we were up to something. It was just that last little mile that we had to travel to figure out what was going on with the algos. So how do we figure out the PRNG? What we did was we compiled all of the assembly and ran through various different instructions until eventually we found a subroutine which had a very embarrassing PRNG in there. Now, I probably shouldn't say embarrassing because it's just PicoPass silicon has been around for quite some time, so the technology that's there, credit where credit's due, was reasonably good at the time. So now we've figured out that we've got the PRNG and we've got the keys. Now, I verified that just to absolutely make sure of things. I had found a copy of the PRNG also in software from the same manufacturer. So that was absolute confirmation that we had everything sorted out. Yeah, it was a matter of turning this discovery into an implementation. Yeah.
Which leads to me again. Bloody hell. I thought you were going to speak longer.
Sorry.
You're welcome. So what's the problem? We figured out the keys. They figured out the PRNG. They figured out all the stuff that's needed. If you think we're kind of weak in what we're exactly saying, there's a reason for that. And yeah, we don't want any trouble in that sense. But the concept is, we know it. And you can verify it later if you're a little bit fast. What is the problem? Well, when you have a PRNG, it's a random number generator that you have a seed into it, and then you have to figure out the chain of blocks that repeats itself 60 million times. Now the question is, how do you find the seed, and how do you verify the generated keys? Which is quite simple, because Adam Laurie did that a couple of years ago, where he had a firmware and he'd like, yeah, let's just brute force the firmware file instead. So I thought, I'm going to do that same thing. And for verifying the keys, it's even simpler, because Carl had a compiled list, or a long chain of bytes that actually matched. With that end, it's just brute force the motherfucker out of this. It's also very censored here. What it is, but yeah, it matches. And it goes quite fast. Can't say how long time. The thing is, oops. Yeah, okay, brute force, fuck it. The thing is, once you've done it, it's quite simple. Then you need to add support for it in the Proxmark, which was happening. And if you've been around the Proxmark world, there was a time about 2017, 2018, when the check commands and lookup commands existed or came to be. The reason was there's a reason why do you want to have a dictionary command file, Iceman, when there's only one key? And I said, are there really? There are many keys, but they didn't know that. Regardless of that, that's how it is. It works, so you can do it. We have not implemented the key generation algo for elite keys in the Proxmark, and we're not going to release it either, so chill over there. But I can prove you that it works. I will do that by trying to please the demo gods.
Demo demons be gone.
Everybody see that, or I need to have bigger? You're good? I can't see, that's the problem. Am I in? Yes, I am. Oh, can I have a camera? Oh, we don't have a camera in a while. Ah, fuck it. In my hand, I have a bag of elite keys that I don't know the key of. Because it says so on the label. I will take one of these keys, and I will prove it. Stupid. The camera doesn't work. Sorry. I would have Babak up here. Everything would have worked from the beginning, because he's so fucking professional. Here we go. Let's see. This is a I-class, and it's a legacy, because this is down there. And it's... we can verify that we don't know the key to it, because we can do this. Down. Key index 0. Is that correct? Because I can't see it. Yeah, it looks right. You have to stand there and tell me if it looks right, because I can't see it. Can? Yeah, I can see it. Anywho, it doesn't work. However, I would need to add actually elite if I don't do that, but that's a different story. Is that right? All right, cool. So what I'm doing now is doing a check command list and running now a generated list of these elite keys, and you're telling the Proxmark client to run it under the elite algorithm to generate the keys. And in the end, it finds it quite easily because it exists there. That means that now you don't need to do low class or whatever to extract information on an elite key. Applauds. Oh my God, the Rick's over there. Now, For you who don't understand what the implications of this is, it's a different story. But in our little world, it's kind of fun. However, we're not going to do very much more about this one because it's yours, the next one.
Yep. All right. So the question is, why are we talking about this? Part of the reason is that all of this information is already in the public domain. There's information across forums. There's information in the form of white papers from the legends before us that have done a lot of research and helped us along this journey. Yeah, there are also products in the market that are commercially available that have not only a list of I-class keys available in them, but have the algos and everything else as well. So, not to mention that, like this particular product here, as an example, has things like DRM built into it. So, what has happened with this particular product is that we've got a good friend, Dogox, that has found, extracted all the firmware from it, and published a separate repo to cover everything that is contained within the iCopyX. So that GitLab link down the bottom there is something worthwhile checking out.
If you bring that little box up there, the orange one, so yeah, that's how it looks like. Now it sounds like it's a marketing thing, but it's not. We actually dislike it very, very much because it goes against everything we stand for. Closed source, DRM, and, you know, fuck the community. I'm a very strong fan of open source, so this offends me, so you know that. And, you know, we don't do this shit just because we think, you know, we're going to commercialize the fuck out of it. The thing is, I'm a value person, so I stand for values, and open source is a heart of mine. So I want to talk about things. I don't want to give you guys exactly the implications and how to do things, but I will give you the tools how to use this stuff, if that makes sense to you guys. All right? Cool. So this sucks. But if you're a pen tester, red teamer, I totally understand it because it will do exactly what's promised. It will clone a card with one button. You will get it. So if you're on a mission, you don't need to know all the shit that we know. You buy one of those motherfuckers and you will have done your stuff. I'm sorry to say it. You know, if you buy a Proxmark, you will try to do some research. But if you buy that one, it's different. And with this talk, I'm pretty sure that the Flipper Zero guys, like Bets over there, will implement even more stuff. So you guys will have, you know, some more fun with it. Flipper Zero is only in the beginning of the iteration of what they can do. Their firmware and all that stuff is just going to build up, even if there's some limitation to the hardware. One of these days, we'll actually start doing attribution. But, you know, that's so. Until that day, fuck the Flipper. I'm a value person, sorry. Was that interesting enough for you guys? Because we're stressing our asses off here, because we're quite nervous, or at least I am. I don't know why, because, yeah, that's how I am. With this said, that was the rest in peace. There are no more protections for the legacy I-class. You have to understand the implications of what we have said today. There are no more secureness in a legacy, I-class legacy. All vendors, whatever you do, upgrade to CEOS, or whatever shit you're going to do, that's what you're going to do, because that's the next thing that's coming. Or Deathfire. I prefer Deathfire. I'm European. So that's how it works. I want to make sure that this is end-of-the-line stuff. This doesn't implicate anything with it like that. It's all, if you have customers who's wondering about things and think that they are secure because they have this stuff, no, you're not. And you never will be anymore. So stop it, upgrade. All right? For you pen testers or red teamers, you're going to have a good time, though. Yeah, it is. You know, you're going to buy one of those, and then you extract the default key list that's there, and then you're happy. Everybody can use the Proxmark for it. With that said, it's time to go over to the next part of the talk. Whee! The tear. Rip and tear. Now, the tearing part, yeah, that's a different story. This is my part here. Oh, totally. Oh my fucking God. Can I move? I feel like a rock star. Wow. How long do I have? Wow. I find it easy to stand like this. So, tear-off attacks is something that we imaginary. No, we didn't. Actually, it was invented a couple of years ago by the researchers of Mobius and Dojox. If you don't know Philip Turven, he's an amazing man. And Mobius, Argentinian guy, who's, if I said wrong, I'm sorry. He's also an amazing man. They came up with a tear-off attack, original one against the Micron card, the Russian subway system with blue cards. I managed to acquire a bunch of Russian Micron cards finally, and to verify his findings, only to find out that I got the red ones, which is not the same as the blue ones, that was the vulnerable ones. However, we have replicated that things with Dojox and me actually resetting the counter on ultralight EV1s, which, you know, forced NXP to do things. Now, the tear-off attack is quite simple. Do you know what a tear-off attack is? The concept of a tear-off attack in RFID. Hands risen. It's a new concept. It's not really out on the market. Trust me. A tear-off attack is, if you know how RFID works, you have an EM field with flux, and then you cut the power at a very specific timing, very precise. And then you hope that the resistors and the memory gaps in the memory gates, and not gaps, will lower enough electrons so you get a bit flip. Does that make sense? It's like a fault injector for EM, but not. Because fault injector have a persistence power line. We fucking cut the power and it's off. There's nothing there. And it's a little bit unprecise, because in the unpreciseness is because of caps or whatever is there that's left over residue of energy. So it takes some timing with it. Now, prerequisites for a tear-off attack. First, you can either tear off memory that goes to zeros, or you tear it off and it goes to FFFs, which is kind of funny, because his name is FFF. You need also enable to read a command to read the memory that you're trying to tear. Does that make sense? Right? And of course, you need something to write that you're actually tearing. So in the write process, you're tearing something off. A normal write process goes on that you send the write command to the reader, and it inside of a chip or the RFID tag. Inside of that, the IC inside of that starts an erase cycle, and then a little bit lower on, it does a write cycle, where it does these things, and then tries to do some checks as well. It's a little bit guesswork, because we don't have exact insights in how it's done, but it's quite nice. So, why are we talking about that? Yes, we're talking about Picopass, of course, because that's the focus of his talk. Now, last year, another community member, he had a talk together with Mixon. Is Mixon in the house? Stand up, brother. Stand up. There you go. That's Mixon. He had a talk. Yeah. His first. So give it up for him. Now the thing is, he and his friend Windle told me last year that when the tear-off attacks came out, it was kind of popular. We ripped some shit out of some prox card. And he said he can rip a normal block on I-class Picopass, which is kind of